Now I would ask our Professor Anna Mahjar Barducci from the Middle East Media Research Institute to join us, as also you propose very interesting exploration of Chinese linguistics. I think we can mention that you join us from the holy city of Jerusalem, if we are so that and we really look forward how you explore the Chinese character, especially the kind of Chinese character of war is most interesting. So over to you, Professor Barducci. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, first of all, and I wanted to thank you for inviting me to this prestigious event. As you mentioned, I'm speaking from Jerusalem, and I'm honored to be somehow a bridge between Jerusalem and Macau. Today, I'm presenting an analysis titled Understanding the I Through the Chinese Language. This analysis presents Catholicism-inspired meditation on Chinese characters for self, as the subtitle suggests. It is a Catholicism viewpoint which may assist 21st century's Christians and non-Christians in their spiritual struggle. This analysis shows that Chinese characters can tell us that the spiritual struggle to improve, ascesis in Greek, is inherent to the human condition. In that sense, we can see that Chinese tradition is not so foreign to the Christian one as most people think. Some ancient Chinese characters reflect deep aspects of human nature and give us useful insights in the humanity's propensity for evil. For example, the Chinese pronoun for I, wo, defined as a conscious thinking subject and the essence of each one of us, is written by combining two characters, as you can see, shou, the hand, and ge, a dagger-like tool. That is, I is depicted as a hand holding a deadly blade. In an article dedicated to the character Wo, the Chinese media wrote, "Why is a murder weapon being used to define the pronoun I? When did this usage first appear? A series of questions still require us to continue pursuing. And there is no answer to this question. However, the Chinese character for I, meaning the ego, the self, the person, seems to reflect our innate propensity for violence and evil. After all, as American playwright and anthropologist Robert Ardrey wrote, we are Cain's children. Man is a predator whose natural instincts is to kill with a weapon. It is worth noting that in classical Chinese, this interpretation, as I mentioned earlier, of the word wo has little usage. This analysis presents a Catholicism-inspired viewpoint on the character, though the debate in China on why the pronoun I, wo, is represented by a hand holding a murder weapon is still open. According to French philosopher Emmanuel Mounier, who has been the guiding spirit of the French personalist movement, in order to develop as a person, in order to develop the I, like the poet and the religious man, the I needs to recollect oneself and listen to one's inner self. In fact, for I, wo, to use the weapon that the hand is holding, willingness, that we can translate as wen yi, is necessary. I will show it. Willingness is necessary. Interestingly, the second character in this word is formed by the radical of the heart in Chinese, with the word that means sound. Then literally, the Chinese word for willingness contains the meaning sound of the heart. That is the sound of one's inner being, as mentioned by Mounier, who said that the eye should develop by listening the one's inner self, i.e. the heart. On World Communication Day in 2022, Pope Francis spoke about the importance of listening. He said, "There is an interior deafness worse than the physical one. Listening concerns the whole person, not just the sense of hearing. And the true seat of listening is the heart. Listening to the sound of the heart brings, therefore, to listen to our own inner self. Hence, intent and willingness come from the sound of the heart, that the eye, as Mounier said, is supposed to listen to in order to follow the moral path." Now, the moral path, moral here in Chinese, means to walk with a straight heart. It is in this way that Cain's children can redeem themselves and draw closer to Abel through repentance. And how is this done? In Chinese, repentance contains the word regret. The word regret is formed on the left side by the character of the heart, and on the right side, which has the meaning of a variant, let's say, of the character, meaning female, mother, as if indicating the regret that provokes the same excruciating feeling sensed by a mother broken heart. Furthermore, the word repentance is also constituted by the character that means change. Hence, repentance in Chinese can be defined as a change that starts in the heart. German theologian and Lutheran pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer asserted that if the person, the eye, becomes aware by listening to the sound of the heart of his, her own guilt, this same person will develop a guilty plea that will lead, by walking with a straight heart, to change, to conversion, to redemption. Now, the word redemption can be translated in Chinese as Jiushu, which is composed by the character meaning to save, and the word redeem or to ransom. The first part of the word redemption, we can analyze it, and we can see that there is a person holding a weapon or a tool to strike with. While on the left, we can see the fur, that is the fur of the killed beast. Therefore, from the etymological analysis, the word means to kill a beast to save someone's life. Hence, in redemption, the same hand of the eye of the war is now used as a weapon to kill the beast which is a biblical symbol for evil, in order to bring salvation. And here I can even say 2 words about the Fyodor Dostoevsky. It is worth noting that in the Brothers Karamazov, novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky tackles this topic of repentance and redemption that we find in Chinese characters. In the book, Dmitri, the oldest Karamazov brother, who is innocent, takes the responsibility for the killing of his father, even though he had been actually killed by Smerdyakov, who is old Karamazov's illegitimate son. Dmitri takes the blame because he had also wished for his father's death. During his time in prison, Dmitri goes through a spiritual conversion and, feeling a sense of shared responsibility for humanity, finds redemption, giving an optimistic look at the nature of mankind. In this regard, the I has freedom, liberty to choose between evil and good. The word freedom and liberty is composed of two characters in Chinese, and it means to make one's own decisions, to be oneself, to follow or obey one's own will. That is, being oneself due to one's own decisions rather than external forces. Hence, the I has the freedom that comes from within to choose using the weapon and not using it. That is, by listening to the heart to choose between good and evil. The question of whether human nature is good or evil has been put forward throughout Western and Chinese intellectual history. We can see that according to the school of Mohism, human nature is inherently good. In the theory of human nature, instead, Chinese philosopher Mencius does not mean that human nature is inherently good, but that anyway, human nature is aspiring, is leaning to the good. Whereas for Chinese philosopher Xunzi, evil is part of nature, but this situation is not incorrigible, because according to him, man will conquer the sky by overcoming his instincts. Following this line, in 2008, Pope Benedict XVI spoke about the doctrine of the original sin. He said to his audience, each person is called to do good and intimately wants to do it, but at the same time is driven by the impulse to do the opposite, to follow the path of egoism and violence, of doing what he or she wants, knowing that he or she is acting against God. According to Benedict, this contradiction is experienced every day. The power of evil gave origin to a dirty river in our soul, which is poisoning the geography of human history. Nevertheless, from this contradiction, a redemption must arise, says Benedict. Despite knowing what is good, the I very often chooses evil. Since our freedom has been corrupted by the original sin and by personal sins. In the epistle to the Romans, St. Paul described this feeling beautifully. He said, "For I have the desire to do what is right, but not the ability to carry it out. For I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I keep on doing. Now, if I do what I do not want, it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells within me. So I find it to be a law that when I want to do right, evil lies close at hand. For I delight in the law of God in my inner being, but I see in my members another law, waging war against the law of my mind and making me captive to the law of sin that dwells in my members. It is worth noting that Chinese original character of the word sin, zui, means cutting one's nose off with a knife. The word sin, therefore, includes in its writing the concept of punishment for committing a sin, a crime. In 2011, the Pope Benedict talked about sin and punishment, stating, evil, in fact, cannot be accepted. It must be identified and destroyed through punishment. The destruction of Sodom had exactly this function. However, Pope Benedict added, yet the Lord does not want the wicked to die, but rather that they convert and live. His desire is always to forgive, to save, to give life, to transform evil into good. The Chinese depiction of I is a hand holding a weapon, appears to be one of the best representations of our inner struggle with temptation of evil, and to even transform it into good. It is worth noting that Erasmus of Rotterdam wrote in 1503 a treatise titled in Latin Enchiridion Militis Christiani, the Manual of a Christian Knight. Tellingly, the Latin word enchiridion comes from Greek, from the word her, hand, the same hand of the eye. And enchiridion means manual, but also means dagger, as the one held by the wool, by the eye, which symbolizes the interior battles against evil in defense of faith, in order to start walking with a straight heart. However, in classical Chinese, there is another word for I, Wu, which is composed of the character of 5 and ko, meaning mouse in Chinese. According to the renowned Ricci Chinese-French dictionary, the word presents the union of 5 mouths, openings, derived from the Buddhist idea of the 5 skandha. It as the 5 constituents, the form, sensations, perceptions, mental activity, consciousness, and the basic element of human existence. Of the empirical person, a conventional I that is not permanent, but is the fruit of the daily experience. Interestingly, the same word for I, Wu, when it is a verb, it means to resist. And the dictionary of Ricci explains that there are contrasts, confrontation, and struggles between the 2 types of I, the Wu and the Wu, represented by the 2 different characters. The I that holds a weapon, the Wu, is the exterior and ephemeral individual, while the other one, the I of the 5 mouths, expresses more the constancy of humanity in the individual. Yet, both of them are battling, resisting to find the unity of the person. In conclusion, the school of philosophy of personalism that we mentioned before of Mounier puts the self, the I, the Wu, which has to be cultivated and protected, at the center. In fact, the understanding of the I is the first step in our relation with the other. Surely, Chinese characters give us a unique opportunity to analyze and meditate about the I and human nature in a new way. The media outlet China Daily writes, Chinese characters have evolved over thousands of years. The quintessence of Chinese civilization and culture has thus been handed down from generation to generation, but they do not only express Chinese words in written form, as they also convey traditional and philosophical thoughts. Yet, these characters don't tell us only about Chinese people or culture, since they describe the universal human condition. Concerning the I, the Chinese character Wo gives us all a point of reflection for a new point of view on the internal conflict within oneself. The Italian Jesuit missionary Matteo Ricci hinged his apostolate on two cornerstones: the study of Chinese literature and mathematical sciences, and the exercise of Christian charity. In the spirit of Matteo Ricci, who is defined as a paragon of cultural exchange between China and the West, Chinese characters can give us new inputs to a Catholicism-inspired meditation on the self. The I whose dagger in the hand can become not a symbol of evil and violence, but to the contrary, a new Enchiridion Militis Christiani, to conquer peace within oneself and with others. In this sense, as stated in the beginning, we can see that Chinese tradition is not foreign to Christian one, and can live together and be an inspiration to each other. Thank you.